There are moments in life when everything goes dark. The ground disappears under your feet. The map becomes illegible. The horizon fades away. And then, without warning, you find yourself there, in the middle of a kind of void that has no name. You don't know if you're coming or going. You don't know if you lost something or if you never had it. You look around and everything seems the same, but inside you something has gone out. The compass no longer points north, and your soul, tired of fighting, silently wonders if all of this still makes sense. I have met many people at this point in existence. Men and women who have crossed oceans, built careers, formed families, lived through losses, achieved goals, read sacred books, prayed deep prayers, and still, one random day, woke up with no direction. It wasn't clinical depression, though the pain was real. It wasn't laziness, though the energy had vanished. It was something else, something deeper, something that couldn't be explained, only felt. And what I discovered in my long exploration of the human soul is that this void has a purpose. It's not a mistake. It's not a system failure. It is, in fact, an invitation, a portal, a sacred crack that opens when the soul has grown too big for the place it was in, a space that forms when the mask no longer fits, when the life narrative that once gave meaning now feels foreign, small, obsolete. The ego, that control center we all use to function in the world, tends to strongly resist this experience. It wants quick answers. It wants solutions. It wants to fix the inner disorder. But the soul doesn't speak the language of haste. The soul has no clocks. It only has cycles. And when one enters this stage of losing direction, they are not being punished. They are being called to let go, to dismantle, to look at what they didn't want to see, to feel what they had repressed, to drop what no longer vibrates with their truth, because many times the path disappears not because life made a mistake, but because you can no longer keep walking in a direction that doesn't honor your essence. I have seen people resist this stage for years. They did everything possible to feel normal again. They filled their days with activities, sought new loves, threw themselves into work, traveled, moved cities, tried to distract themselves from the silence. But the void waited for them at the end of each attempt, because the void isn't there to destroy them, but to transform them. This is the message I want to leave you today. If you are one of those souls who can no longer find direction, you are not broken, you are not lost. You are at a point of deep transition. You are going through what the ancients called the dark night of the soul. And although it may seem like punishment, it is in fact a disguised blessing, because this state of not knowing is the womb of a new version of you. Jung called this the individuation process. It is the moment when you stop living to be who others expect you to be and finally begin to discover who you really are. But before clarity comes confusion, before light, shadow, before meaning, meaninglessness. It's like the seed that must break to make way for the tree, the cocoon that disintegrates before the butterfly flies. The chrysalis is not a comfortable place, but it is absolutely necessary. One of the greatest obstacles in this process is the need to understand everything rationally. The ego wants maps, it wants certainties, but the soul moves in symbols, in intuitions, in silences. When you no longer know where to go, it's because the path you knew no longer belongs to you, and the new one has not yet revealed itself. You are on the threshold, and that threshold, though confusing, is sacred at this point. Many people begin to experience strange dreams, old memories, unexplained physical symptoms. emotions that seem disproportionate. It's not a coincidence. It is the soul trying to communicate what has been ignored for too long. It is the unconscious asking to be heard. It is the shadow saying, "Now it's my turn." In my clinical work, I observed that those who dared to stay in the void, without trying to fill it immediately, were the ones who experienced the deepest transformations. Because stopping the search for direction doesn't mean giving up. It means allowing a new direction to emerge from within. From what cannot be planned, only revealed. There is wisdom in chaos, intelligence in uncertainty. But it can only be accessed when we stop fighting what we feel, when instead of asking how to get out of the tunnel, we ask what the tunnel wants to teach us. When we let go of the need for everything to make sense and simply surrender to the experience. I know this may sound difficult, and it is, because we're used to measuring our value by what we do, by what we achieve, by how useful we are. But the soul doesn't need you to be useful. It needs you to be honest, to listen to yourself, to dare to be who you are, beyond roles, expectations, and titles. That's why, if today you're feeling like you have no direction, I invite you to stop seeking direction and start observing what's there. What emotions live inside you? What parts of you you've ignored? What truths you're avoiding? What wounds are asking to be seen? Because what we often call lack of meaning is simply a disconnection from our truth. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know where you're going. You just have to be present, breathe, feel, accept, and allow life, little by little, to begin to show you the next step, not the entire path, just the next step, because that's how the soul guides, step by step, from within. In silence, I've seen people be reborn from the darkest places. People who thought everything was lost, and yet found within that void the seed of a new life, a more authentic life, lighter, freer, not because they found the path, but because they stopped clinging to the old one. Sometimes, losing direction is life's way of bringing you back to yourself. Sometimes, not knowing who you are is the first step to discovering it. Sometimes, feeling like everything is collapsing is simply the collapse of what no longer represents you. And beneath that rubble, there is always a treasure. Your soul, your truth, your center. So if you're there, right in that place where everything feels uncertain, I want you to remember this. You are not alone. You are not failing. You are awakening, and awakening, though painful, is the greatest gift you can receive, because it frees you, because it strips you bare, because it transforms you. Let the silence speak to you. Let the darkness embrace you. Let not knowing guide you, because within that apparent chaos, there is a new you waiting to be born. A more real you, more whole, more connected with the totality of who you are. And when that you awakens, then you will understand that you were not lost. You were just coming home.